Welcome, everyone. As you are joining, we're going to give it a couple minutes before we get started to the application modernization webinar that we're about to start. So welcome to everyone who's taken the time to join our webinar. All right, welcome everyone. Those who are joining the application modernization webinar, thank you. We're going to get started in just one moment. All right, we are going to get started. Thanks everyone for joining the application modernization webinar. We're going to talk about today how we can evolve our technology to deliver to the business, customers, and employees by doing application modernization. And we're going to start off with some introductions. And next slide, please. And my name is Debbie Zelten, and I run the practice at Synoptic that builds custom applications and data analytics solutions. And all the resources and projects work through me. And with that, I'm going to go through different intros. We'll start with Will.
Hi, I'm Will Payman. I'm a Senior Director of Customer Experience Strategy.
And Sean.
Hello everyone, Sean Ryan here. I am a Solution Architect with our Product Development and Data Insights team.
And Manish.
Hey everyone, I'm Manish, Dhall, a dedicated partner technology strategist working with Synoptic for driving the solution offer innovation with the Microsoft Cloud Technologies. I'll take a couple minutes to show very quick what's the value of Microsoft, why we are here with the Synoptic. At Microsoft, only 5% top partners are managed by Microsoft Partner Management Team. And Synoptic is the managed partner of Microsoft. And our partnership with Synoptic is to drive Synoptic business priorities and work together for driving customer success. Later in the slide, I'll partner with the other team members to show how deep our partnership are.
All right, and Pete?
Hello, everyone. My name is Pete Rodriguez. I'm a Principal Cloud Solution Architect with Microsoft. Happy to be working with Synoptic on their solution offering that we're going to talk about today.
All right, thanks all. And with that, we're going to go to the next slide, and Will's going to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Go ahead, take it away. Thanks, Will.
Sure. Within this webinar, we're going to kind of give you a definition of what app modernization is. We're going to talk a little bit about the business drivers, as well as the strategies that a lot of companies and our clients adopt. We're going to focus on outcomes. We're also going to show an approach to how you can go through app modernization. And then at the end, towards the end, we're going to be talking about some case studies and give you some examples of where customers have had some great success with app modernization. And then finally, we'll give you a little story, a little history about Synoptic. Okay, next. So let's start off with the overview. So why app modernization? Well, there's really sort of four key areas. So we start sort of on the lower left. It's really around compliance. So if you think about compliance, this tends to be click ahead, please, Sean. There's also like security, legal, software is end of life. So there's this sort of idea that you do it because you have to do it. The next sort of area of motivation is really around the cost savings. This is reducing the operating costs, moving to the cloud, and it's really about sort of seeing that you have this ability just to kind of like get off some legacy technologies and move it to some modern technology, and it's really the sort of the cost saving model. Now it gets a little bit more interesting when we start moving up into new capabilities. So this is where you're sort of a little bit more forward thinking, and you start thinking about, okay, not only do I want to sort of reduce costs or I want to sort of, meet compliance needs, but I'm really focusing in on creating new capabilities for the company. And this can include areas around business insights, the data warehouse, flexible business platform, faster response time, scalability, ease of integration. So this is not necessarily new applications or anything sort of innovation, but it gives you a sort of a platform to be able to do that. But the number one reason, according to various surveys, is really customer experience. The biggest motivation for companies to why they want to modernize their applications is because they want to be able to improve that customer satisfaction, the employee efficiency. They can want to understand more about the customer and also really improve those application performance. Now, this is a really big area, right? So customer experience, very important to a lot of people. When they say, hey, I want to be able to improve the customer experience, the CEO is asking them, IT's response is, I've now got a platform that I can do that. So give you a couple of stories here. So the first really is around a logistics firm. And this, we've seen sort of some dramatic results. So for example, this logistics firm managed to improve productivity. Well, by 110%. This is a huge number, and halving the number of with half the number of staff at the time. But why did they really want to do that? So Debbie, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the sort of what they were looking for in the app modernization.
Yeah, so they were looking to improve their efficiency of being able to match shipments with carriers quickly. So one of the things that was designed was to put as much information on the screen, a couple of the main screens that the employees utilized, to be able to have all the information at their fingertips, so they didn't have to go back and forth to different screens or applications, right? And so that was one area of where we were able to improve their application that drove their business. The second one is we were able to automate many of the packages that they were going off manually to get. So integrating some of the data where they would go to third-party applications. So that was all automated by the application to bring it back to the employees, so they didn't have to go digging to find the information. In addition to the workforce or the business process flow and the way that they would flow through the screens was optimized towards their business processes. So because it was custom, because it was modernized, they were able to take how they do their work and really just improve that efficiency in order to essentially achieve that productivity improvement.
We have another example here of a programmatic technology for an advertising firm, right? So this is really, again, a big increase in productivity, using a lot of the same things that Debbie just mentioned. It's a lot around custom apps, making sure that all the data is integrated, ease of data integration, the unified customer experience. This sort of multi-tab experience really has to start, right? It has, really causes a lot where they're sort of moving between browser 1 or browser 2, bringing it all together into that single pane and really being architected around the jobs to be done and the workflow that customers go through. So again, app modernization can bring big results for most companies. Next. So when we start looking at business drivers, we start, I'm the CX guy, so I've got to say that it really starts with the insights and understanding. So this is really about what do your customers or your employees want? And this is all about understanding that. So whether it's, a voice for the customer or employee or agent program, whether it's creating segments and personas, maybe it's looking at the customer journey and the service blueprint. So we're looking at the whole flow and saying, how can the apps change to support the task that needs to be done? And we really need to understand what's going to be done. The next one really is around the business processes. So we're looking at how does the business have to change, right? So you think about a new tool, but you've got to have the whole organization really focused on the vision and the values. If we're going to do this, what is the new business going to look like, and how are we going to align to that, right? There is probably new skills needed around product management and portfolio management. The next area it tends to be a lot around creative. So we think of creative in advertising, but when you think about app modernization, the experience you want to give your customers and the experience you want to give your employees is really around that brand. What is your brand? Are you easy to do business with? Are you friendly? How do you position yourself? So this can be anything from style guides, typography, the development of the UI guide, making sure there's a common standard, and also thinking about like development of that support content and all the assets you're going to need to be able to promote the new application and support that application. Now, the next area is really user experience, and you guys are probably thinking, well, yeah, this is the really the heart of the matter. But this is really around that sort of the site maps, those screen flows, the wireframes, right? The usability testing. Can the customer do the tasks that they want to do? Have we designed it in such a way that it's easy for them to do? And how can we kind of reduce that cognitive load and make them more efficient? So we've got these applications. We've designed it. We know the problems. Well, now we've got to enable the employees. Now, this is really very important, right? A lot of people, when they look at app modernization, this is an area around that change management communications. The employees are going to be scared. There's going to be some issues and concerns about the new application. What does this mean to me? What does it mean to my job? So this is really, it's very important that you put that change management process, those communication processes, and you engage the employees throughout the development and the rollout. And then the final area is really adoption. So making sure that organizational readiness is there, we're putting out the communications, and we've set up a structure to listen to what the customers are wanting, and we're listening to the employees as well. Thinking about go-to-market planning, making sure we have all those assets and that we can have that assistance and digital adoption platform. So they're thinking about how do we get employees and customers to become, to understand and to use the new application. Now, if we can get all this right, then we're going to have a successful rollout and a successful adoption. Sean, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Will. So the next part here, we want to talk a little bit more about the strategies for application modernization and back a little bit to some of the drivers that Will called out for us. So one of the things we look at as one of the strategies for app modernization, really understanding the value assessment of the applications. Is there compliance issues that would need to be addressed? Are there application vulnerabilities that need addressing? Security loopholes? Any kind of risk or automation that is associated with the current app stack, and understanding where that lives and what needs to change moving forward. Then we move into re-architecting and rebuilding, really building the platform tech and the latest design patterns, and really making sure these applications perform as well as they can for the user experience, as well as just for throughput for any of the transactional pieces underneath. Will they scale? Will they perform? And can we move these pieces around to essentially support these improvements? As Will pointed out, as we look into the end user experience and re-engineering, there's a need to upgrade the platform on which it lives. If it's a matter of moving to a cloud, or if it's a matter of using different application stack or technology stacks, it's really a way to, again, augment that user experience and make sure we have a technology aligned with how we want our users to interact with that technology in the user journey. Moving on, we talk a little bit about the cloud migration and enablement. Obviously, being able to move your application stack into a modern cloud-hosted environment to be able to take advantage of the cloud services that are available there for managed SQL, managed Active Directory, and all the value adds that really bring the benefit to a cloud migration. We can approach it from a lift and shift, but unless you're really taking advantage of those cloud services, you're not going to get many of the cost savings that you're seeking from that cloud migration. Finally, additionally being able to tie these in for microservices, being able to break down these applications so that they can be built independently, they can be deployed independently, and they can be scaled separately. So we really have a lot of control about if there's any bottlenecks within the application, how we are able to make those improvements through microservices and containerization. And this is something that we were able to do for a number of our customers that allowed them to have quicker updates, turnaround times for the features backlog that they have. So backlog of features for enhancements, that can take time. By able to containerize these various services within the application, we can bring those to go live or production sooner, whether that's for an internal audience or whether that's for their external customers. And then finally, the application portfolio rationalization. This is when we look at the legacy tech stack, our legacy applications, and understand how those fit in to our overall digital transformation strategy. Are we modernizing these apps that exist today, or is there something perhaps off the shelf that we can use to replace some of that? How do we manage the cutover from the legacy apps to the new applications, and really understanding back to the first point is where is the value? Where is the value that these applications are bringing to the business, and making sure that your app modernization strategy is aligned with the business value that it achieves. And then finally, the governance and security that overlays all these pieces that's just built into any application modernization activity. With that, I will hand it back to Debbie for expected outcomes.
All right, thanks, Sean. So when we work with our customers, our customers achieve these outcomes that I'm going to take you through, which maps back to why app modernization that Will talked about. So one of those being is improving the customer experience, which we've talked about. It's will provide that for you, as well as even potential self-service features along the way. The next item is work elimination and increased efficiencies. So as we mentioned in the previous example with the logistics provider, right? It's about eliminating some of the work and increasing the efficiencies for the employees and or the customers in some cases, depending if it's a B2B or B2C application, to really become more efficient and optimized, right? And that also can go into consolidation and collaboration, right? We talked about integrating with other third-party apps so that they don't have to do multiple screens to go get the information that they need to be able to do their job efficiently. And we mentioned application portfolio analysis, right? So work elimination and increased efficiency comes along with understanding all of your applications and what's being used, what's not being used. When you start modernizing an application, you will find out that you might even had redundant technology somewhere, and you're able to sunset those items. And application portfolio rationalization helps you do that. The next area for an outcome is reliability and service. So with the cloud services, they can provide you with, scalable architecture that you pay for what you need when you have higher demand. You also have access to log analytics and event correlations and proactive monitoring so that you can increase your uptime, your service reliability, right, and all of that as you do application modernization. And the other outcome is automation. We talked about some examples on automation, being able to automate much more that's been manual efforts, right, whether it be a business process or just data entry or whatever it might be, as well as providing the ability to provide additional features like recommendation engines and bots to be able to do some of that self-service that no longer needs to be so manual. And with that, with these modern architectures, you are going to get these outcomes for, as we mentioned with our customers, these outcomes will happen naturally by doing application modernization, so that you can get that ROI. And then we measure the success through, time to market improvement, being able to release features quickly, to be able to respond to the market demands and the needs of either the employees or the customers of your application. Total cost of ownership reduction. You're gonna, some studies saying anywhere from 10 to 20% of total cost of ownership reduction in costs, and then also improve customer feedback or employee feedback that it's, much more efficient. So with that, this is why, this goes back to why app modernization from the beginning is all these reasons to get these outcomes. If we go on to the next slide, we talk about the building blocks of application modernization. And with that, there's many facets of transformation when you're doing application modernization. Processes that are core of a successful business will be addressed. And with that, on the top of that list is consumer, customer, partner, employee experience, depending on your application, right? So we're going to be able to improve that experience through the modernization effort. The next one is the business value chains and processes. So when you modernize, you're going to make sure that your modernized application maps back to, one of your key business value chains, so that you do get, potentially your outcomes of, decreased risk, service reliability, total cost of ownership reduction, increased revenue, right? These are all some of the business value chains and processes that are part of application modernization. Then we look at external, internal application integration. So when you start integrating some of these things, you get the benefits, right? Those are just part of automating some of those applications when you're doing modernization, even between existing applications or even within external applications. And then there's the data management integration. And that will, again, help with, increasing the process of what people need to enter or do, right? Being able to have access to the data, the right reporting, the metrics, all that is part of the application modernization to achieve, the business goals of doing that. And this is all part of the transformation process. The business legacy modernization, right? So obviously that's what we're doing is you're going to use an architecture that's more modern, that's going to utilize the cloud and, support that infrastructure and connect all the applications necessary. And then shared digital infrastructure and engineering, right? So we talked about the applications and infrastructure is important in achieving the transformation. All this is, shared infrastructure and engineering. And, we talked about the data integrations, all that works together. And then the operating model, harmonizing your processes as a way to work across all those modernized applications. So every transformation is impacting, the people as it evolves the overall process. So this is why all these are part of the building blocks of transformation of the transformation through application modernization. And with that, thank you. We're going to move on to the approach and offerings. So the way we approach application modernization is we have a framework that we utilize to be able to understand, even just understanding the application, assessing what is currently there, what is the current state, what needs to be the future state process, what is the customer journey, what is the user interface design needed. And sometimes even before this, Sean mentioned the application portfolio rationalization, just even deciding which application would come from, determining, which of those applications map to your business value and processes. So that's how you then decide. Once you make that decision, you can start with the discovery and assessment to understand the strategies to prioritize your, what you're needed. And the next step is really just planning. Once you've decided what the journey is, what the future state's going to look like, you have to decide your plan for what kind of architecture you're going to use to support that, whether you're going to refactor, re-architect, rebuild, what's your tools that you're going to use, what's your plan, and create that roadmap. And then you move to the development phase, where you're going to develop based on all the planning, all the journey that you're going to create for the application. You start in the solution implementation, which is, writing user stories, coding, testing, user acceptance test, and then deployment. And then even after that, because you've now used this modern architecture, you have the ability to deliver features on a much quicker basis, which is one of the reasons that you went to application modernization. So then this gives you, a reliable, framework to continually to develop and operate and migrate this new application that you've modernized. And at the top of all this is governed by IT and leadership to make sure that you're doing the right things to get the outcomes that we discussed earlier, and to ensure that you not just achieve those, but then everybody's aware and the communication is to the organization and with the plans going forward. And then we'll talk about the next slide is really the detailed methodology during the development phase. Is Synoptic's methodology is to envision, transform, and evolve. So once you've done the planning and done the strategy and you're going into the development phase, we start with the details of writing the user stories, creating that sprint backlog, understanding the product backlog, so that you can then move to a sprint model of developing the features and releasing the first MVP, minimum viable product, to your customers or to your employees, depending on the application, so that you get value as soon as possible. And then you can continually evolve the product over time. So this is our agile methodology to be able to move through the application modernization process. And then if we talk about Synoptic's, our services, through the different areas, we have, we have the ability to do the customer experience vision, goals and strategy development, solution architecture, which includes cloud adoption, UI UX design. If your application is a mobile application, we provide mobile and IoT services, business and customer intelligence. Obviously, we do application development integration. We do the project and program management of that roadmap. QA and testing is a big part of application modern as part of the service, and DevOps, where we can build this DevOps pipeline to allow automated release deployments in a quick and efficient way. And then obviously business process optimization, analyzing the current state, future state business processes, and then the change that's required to actually get to adopt the new change. We also provide just straight support services where we take over an application, or we've built the application and support it, and do different teams as a service based on the needs of your application or you as an organization, what you might need. And one of the case studies is I was going to mention this earlier in one of our earlier slides for the outcomes, is the history of this customer is a nonprofit, and they embarked on an application modernization project because they were the application was no longer be supported. Many of their customers were having difficulty in checking out on this e-commerce auction website, shopgoodwill.com, and with all of the challenge and the ADA compliance. So there was three main drivers that caused them to embark on an application modernization journey. And then we helped them even decide whether they should go with a platform or build custom solution. So ultimately, through that analysis and their goals, because they had a lot of custom code written to do the auction, we basically went with a .NET Microsoft architecture and rewrote the buyer website as well as the seller website, which is the sellers are enabled to sell the items. So this customer has been able to achieve many of the outcomes that we've discussed, enhance customer experience, because now, moving through the site is easier, checking out easier, and has definitely shown in the numbers in terms of average sales growth and the order value going up, and just the more users that have been being attracted to the website. So, and this number is in 2021, we reached sales of 240 million, but actually in 2022, I think the number is like 290 million. So the growth has been significant, and we are providing, more reliable service, as well as continually adding more features in the platform that we're able to do quicker than was before. And they've just had great success in embarking upon this journey. And this is a nonprofit. We also won the Microsoft Partner of the Year award in the nonprofit space for the work that we did here. And with that, the next slide is the architecture. So this is a tech validated architecture that Synoptic uses, and parts of these components were used with the Shop Goodwill architecture that we worked with, we use for our customers, and we worked with Microsoft to get it validated. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete from Microsoft, who's going to talk about that process.
Sure. Thank you, Debbie. Yes, this validation process makes sure that a partner solution uses our best practices and encompasses a sound architecture. Synoptic worked closely with us in a series of meetings, and we peeled back the onion to deep dive into some technical questions. And our process uses the Microsoft well-architected framework to ensure architectural excellence. And it has pillars like reliability, security, cost optimization, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. And by incorporating these concepts, we're able to help ensure that we have a high quality, stable, and efficient cloud architecture that will meet your needs. So it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. And the next slide we're going to show is just as an example of what we did for Shop Goodwill to develop the continuous integration, continuous development pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline. This is an example architecture that we used to be able to release and deploy with confidence and reliability, scalability, et cetera, and automated as it is a complex, application. And the next slide. So some of the other highlights that I'd want to mention in terms of, back to why application modernization, why do people do this? It sounds like a big journey, is really just, really the benefits just are there from doing this. So one of the manufacturing organizations that we worked with was able to have 80% reduction in operational cost by just doing it, improve their operational efficiency, right? And a real estate firm, we were able to automate, a revolutionary platform and automate the transaction coordination process. So then the transaction, the effort and the cost is reduced by like 50% because of the automation of the workflow and the communication between all the people that are involved and all the documents and the integration. So another example. And then the next example is the logistics firm that we talked about. So some more numbers with the logistics firm example that I gave in the beginning. Again, 50% reduction in their workload. So because we were able to consolidate their process and build automation, and then also be able to process more daily transactions, which is how they get their revenue. So then that means revenue is also increased. So these are additional outcomes that we've achieved by modernizing their business application. And then also we worked with a data protection firm to improve their release quality and efficiency. And there we were able to get 36% cost savings and also reduction in their product release time. So there's evidence that proves that, these application modernization efforts, will give you those results. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I think the next slide is back to Sean, who's going to talk about the Synoptic Overview.
Thanks, Debbie. I just wanted to take a couple minutes here to talk a little bit about Synoptic, who we are as an organization. There's some numbers here in terms of, founded in 2001, 1,100 plus employees spread across the globe. We are a global managed service solution integrator. We have a number of capabilities in our services portfolio beyond the product development and application development modernization that we're talking about today. There's other areas of security and data insights, cloud advancement. business applications as an infrastructure, and all these fit together often within an app modernization and rationalization effort in many cases. A little bit more on the just another mention of our methodology, that we're supporting the full solution life cycle from the very beginning of envisioning what that's going to be through the transformation and build, and then supporting that going forward. We have a number of cloud platforms, that we work with and work closely with. But the tightest integration we have here from a partner standpoint is, and something we're very proud of, is our Azure Expert MSP. It's a limited number of organizations that reach this level of certification within the Microsoft partner landscape. And Manish, perhaps I'd turn it over to you for a couple minutes to tell us a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. This is one of my favorite slides. This is awesome. It's clearly projecting the values of Microsoft and Synoptic deep partnership. Let me start with the House of Excellence of Synoptic Consulting Leadership Management Practice Lifecycle. In Microsoft and Synoptic partnership, we work as a V team for making this as a mutual success for Synoptic customers. It's a great achievement to multiple excellence award and certification badges Synoptic has earned from Microsoft. Synoptic has collected a lot of gold certifications with advanced specialization for Microsoft Teams and Azure Experts program. As Sean mentioned about Azure Expert program, let me double click a little bit details on this, what it is. It is a program especially for the partner companies who is the superstar at building, launching the solution practices, which will drive customer success to meet their business priority. Being an Azure Expert MSP partner, Synoptic earned an exclusive badge, differentiating from other Microsoft partners, and gained top priority in the referral engine, co-sell engagements, receive support when developing new practices, and can attend exclusive events as well. Now, the question is, how does it help in making Synoptic customers successful? Synoptic has proven their commitment in driving customer success by very deeply engaging with Microsoft's various teams, including us as a partner management team, extending to engineering and partner marketing team, to make sure to get the best alignment of Microsoft cloud services. Bolstered with the Microsoft unmatched technology portfolio and extensive partner and customer reach, this partnership empowers Synoptic with exclusive training, support, service, and sales programs that accelerate innovation and make Synoptic capable of helping customers achieve their business priorities and goals by using latest solution with cutting-edge cloud technologies. We have seen various architecture, various success example by Debbie, Will, and Sean also shared a lot of practices. We do not get disengaged after Synoptic build and launch the practice. As a matter of fact, our partnership get deepened every time new customer is onboarded, and where we see there's an opportunity to grow the practice by adding additional customer scenario and use cases. We go back to the drawing board as a V team, and we make sure the new customer scenario and use case is successfully on board to meet the customer business priority. So in a one bottom line, Synoptic is in a very deep partnership with us, and we are very happy and very proud of this partnership as well.
Thank you, Manish.
Yeah.
And then just a quick note on the winning formula. We really feel that our experience and our expertise in this space, along with our depth and breadth of services, the full solution lifecycle support that we offer, and our proven track record delivering meaningful business outcomes, make us a good fit for many organizations seeking to go down this application modernization pathway. And next steps down that pathway, how do we get engaged? So we have a number of promotional items here. We have a free sort of 2-hour, basically 4-hour total ideation workshop where we can determine, just at a high level, what your application modernization and rationalization journey needs to look like, and do some of that initial planning, and we can provide some high-level next steps for that. We also offered a steeply discounted 2-week application modernization assessment that has deeper deliverables in terms of the functional requirements, the architecture for the application, as well as the infrastructure, and then any of the implementation estimates and understanding where gaps exist in your current plans. And again, we can engage you on any level at any point in that solution lifecycle, whether it's at the very beginning of thinking about it, or you're halfway through it and need some help getting it over the finish line, or just even supporting it after it's been built, or anywhere along there. So please, if you're interested, please scan the QR code. You can fill in your information, and someone will be getting back to you shortly. And with that, I think we're ready to move into the questions. We have about 5 minutes left for questions. I don't know that I've seen the questions.
All right, I'll go with that. So we have a question on what are the risks of not modernizing the application? I'll give an answer, then I'll ask one of my other team members to, fill in. So I believe, the research is out there is that, the risks of not modernizing your application, some old is, obviously continuous tech debt and not being able to attract, new customers or staying in the competitive edge if you're talking about a customer app. And if you're talking about an employee application within your business, it's being able to reduce the operational cost and, having an employee productivity, as well as even just increased cost and not being able to enhance the application anymore and get, engagement and making people happy, whether it's employees or customers. And then also just, the skill set, you might not be able to support it over time. So those are some of my thoughts on the risks of not modernizing the application. As anybody on the team want to take and add to that?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the competitive space, right? You have you're thinking about applications that they're on there on the internet that people, your competition is a click away. Your ability to be able to innovate, be able to beat the competition, this is hugely important to the competitive advantage. So unless you have that infrastructure that can allow for the innovation and also the rapid deployment and scale, you're always going to be sort of behind the 8 ball.
All right, the next question is, what are some of the reasons that application modernizations fail? Anybody want to take that, or would you like me to take that?
I could take that. I think it's going back to that rationalization and planning. It's making sure we understand how that application supports the business and supports meaningful outcomes for the business. I think some of these strategies, everybody wants to modernize their tech stack. It's who wants to have that old tech stack? It's easier to get developers for the new stuff, and it's just easier to maintain. But unless you can map that back to a really meaningful business outcome, then the funding can falter and the desire to do it. There has to be a business driver behind it, and when that's not clear up front, then that's one of the areas where we can see some of these projects fail. It's typically not the technology; it's the alignment with the business.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's the alignment. I think it's also the communications, right? A lot of these modernizations are really, it's the whole company is changing. It's not just the technology, right? It's how do you do sales? How do you support marketing? How do you engage the customers? How are you changing introducing new channels? How do you support that? So the whole organization has to sort of look at itself. And I think, without sort of like broad-based alignment and executive sponsorship, not just out of the sort of the CIO, but you're talking about the CFO, the COO, the CEO, really helping and aligning and driving to this, that's going to drive success. If it's a single group trying to do this without the cooperation of the rest of the organization, that's where you're really going to struggle.
All right, thanks, Will and Sean. Our last question is, does Synoptic have a suite of services for customer experience? I think this goes right to Will.
Sure. So When we went through the slide and saying, all these are the steps you had to go through, we have support for any customer, whether it's around requirements gathering, process re-engineering, customer insights, surveys, design, creative. We have all these services, and these services, you can buy as one sort of single package, or you can say, we've got various parts of this covered, but we're going to need support in these particular areas. So whether it's creative and content, whether it's adoption, whether it's corporate communications and support, whether it's about alignment sessions, or even just sort of like training and adoption, we have those kinds of services because we realize it's more than the technology, it's the people.
All right, thanks, Will. So we're at time, and I want to thank everybody, the panelists, the group who presented, as well as thank you for attending the webinar. And we look forward to hearing you soon. And feel free to scan the QR code here to register to take advantage of the offer. Thanks again, and everyone have a great day. Or go ahead, Sean.
Quick note, this is a QR code for our upcoming data analytics webinar that we have at March 1st. So that'll click you into that if you want to register for that. It's similar to what we talked about here, but with the focus on data and data platform. And I can switch back to the QR code for next steps for the promo if anybody wants to scan that as well.
All right, thanks again. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.